I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Try to lean into these microphones a little bit. Please let the minutes represent the presence of the trustees, department heads, and the officials. I'd like to start with just a quick introduction of everybody on the board because we're new here. I'll start with myself. I'm Village President Dan Delort. I've been a village resident for 37 years. For 41 years, I was a senior healthcare director and manager. Really enjoy living in this village, and I've served on the village board for the last 3 years. I'm really proud to represent the Grafton residents here as the village president. I'll turn it over to our senior trustee, Lisa.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks for not calling me Trustee Harbeck. I'm Lisa Harbeck. I've been here for 13 years. I've lived in Grafton for almost 30. It was a great place when we moved here, and it continues to get better every day. We're excited about our new trustees. So welcome, and I hope you guys learn a lot.
Hi, I'm Amy Luft. I am a Grafton resident for 30-some years, raised my family here. The kids went through the public schools. I belong to the Grafton American Legion, and I'm highly involved in the community as a whole. So welcome to the new trustees.
Hi, Jim Miller. Moved here with my family back in 1956. So I've seen a lot of growth. Been a member of Park and Rec for about 25 years. And I also am looking forward to working with both of you.
Awesome. So I'm Mary Pat Fenton, and I was born and raised in Madison, Wisconsin, and my maiden name is Mary Patricia O'Donnell. So when I got married, I lost my Irish heritage. I went to college at University of Wisconsin La Crosse. I got a degree in finance with an emphasis in insurance, and I've spent the last 34 years in the insurance industry. I currently work for Badger Mutual Insurance in downtown Milwaukee, and I'm a regional sales manager in the state of Wisconsin. And I have been married for 25 years in August. My husband is Eric, and we've got 3 kids in college, 21, 21, and 23. We moved here about 5 years ago, and we absolutely fell in love with Grafton, absolutely fell in love with it. And so I'm excited to be here. I'm really looking forward to listening and understanding what's going on, what the issues are, and working together to actually bring about some resolution with this group. So thank you for having me.
My name is Dave Armstrong. I've lived in Grafton since I was 9 years old. I won't tell you how old I am, but it's been a long time. I love this town. I'm involved with the senior softball league here in town. I work for Capital First Trust Company down in Milwaukee. I've been there going on 26 years come July 1st. The vice president there and trustee. I love my job, and I'm really looking forward to being on this board here for the Village of Grafton. Thank you very much for just giving us a quick introduction. I'd also like to as I'm new in this role, I'm going to be relying very heavily on Mike Herbrin, who is our parliamentarian. If there's a question I have about which way to go, I'm sure that Mike will be able to give me a little bit of a nudge on the correct thing to do in regards to Robert's Rules of Order. All right, the next thing, I'm going to look for a motion for the approval of the April 6th, 2023 Village Board. The February 14th, 2023 Public Safety Committee, the February 15th, 2023 Joint Parks and Rec and Architectural Review Board, the February 27th Joint Library Board, the February 28th Police and Fire Commission, the March 13th, 2023 Board of Public Works, the March 22nd, 2023 Parks and Recreation minutes as presented.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or corrections on the minutes? Hearing none. We'll take a vote here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And the ayes have it. Any person wishing to speak to the board on a non-agenda item?
Yeah. I'd just like to say a few words. I attended the recent Police and Fire Commission hearing regarding Chief Caponera's proposed termination of one of his sergeants, Justin Lawrence. At yesterday's testimony, it came out that during meetings with his officers and staff, Chief Caponera has used insulting and derogatory language when referring to the members of the Public Safety Committee, and in particular to me and Trustee Jim Miller. According to the testimony, the chief on more than one occasion has referred to me as that heartless bitch and to Jim Miller as toothless. I have to say that this language and name calling is appalling and disrespectful. In all of my dealings with the chief, I have always been courteous and respectful. While I and other members of the Public Safety Committee certainly challenged or pushed back on certain asks by the chief that we didn't feel were necessary or a good use of taxpayer dollars, my interactions with the chief have always been civil. To hear that behind my back and in meetings with his personnel, he has been insulting us and calling us names is very disappointing and unprofessional. Also, the local papers were at the hearing yesterday, and I wouldn't be surprised to see something in the paper reporting this. Conduct like this just makes the village look bad. Thank you.
All right, no discussion or action on that item at this point in time. We'll go to number 5, business presented by the president. We look for a motion to confirm the village board committee commission assignments from April 23 to April of 2024. Can I get a motion on that?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. As with that, if anything, we can certainly have some discussion on that. Anybody like to make a comment on the appointments?
I have a question, Mr.
Mhm.
President. So when I look at last year's, if I compare it to last year's, there's a couple of places where past President Brunkel had like a chair already listed and we don't have that. And also I'm questioning, this is an appointee, like when will we find out who that will be?
Okay, so first of all, we've applied to the code that has been out there. The code is listed for the Grafton Code as to who the president can appoint as a chairperson. There's only one committee that the president can choose a chairman of, and that's the Board of Public Works. So essentially, what's going to take place in this situation is at the first meeting of the in May, once the commissioners are all settled, then a vote will be held at those meetings by the department head, dependent on that department head wants to do it or they want me to handle it. Going, and we can have a vote for the chairman for those boards.
So last year for Public Safety Commission, I already had Lisa Harbeck listed as chair, but there was no chair listed for this year.
Correct.
So,
That'll come up for a vote.
but it wasn't voted on, you know, you had it on and we assigned to us.
I can only go by what's written in the code. Jessica, would you like to comment on that?
To our best recollection, over time, the appointment process became a bit convoluted and almost, I don't want to say autopilot, but that is the best analogy I can come up with, whereby there were certain aspects of the code that weren't followed. To President Delort's point, there's one committee whereby the president can appoint the chair. There are other committees whereby the code specifically says the village president serves as chair. And then other committees where it says they need to be elected by, the chair needs to be elected by the committee at that meeting in May. Therefore, we are getting back to, with these committee assignments, what the code says. We're following the code, the letter of the code, versus just a unfortunate and inaccurate past practice.
So what if it doesn't list anywhere in the code how the chairman gets voted in? I'm looking at the Public Safety Committee and it doesn't list anywhere about how the chairman gets voted.
That is where the committee will have to take a vote on it. This is again, with reviewing the code with regards to committee assignments, it has been found there are there is inconsistent language across the board with regards to how each board or committee or commission is created, how the chair is appointed, and what have you. So I believe something that is coming up in the near future here is a review of those various code sections for consistency, for clearer language and updating. But as it sits right now, the assignments that are before the village board this evening follow the letter of the code with regards to what the village president has purview to.
As far as the question on the citizen to be named to the committee, I did vet this through Attorney Herbrand several right after I was elected. And we do have the authority to appoint a public member to the committee. There are several people who are interested who have law enforcement experience that would have stated their desire to work on that committee. And, you know, again, with these committees, we really like to see trustee and citizen representation on all the committees so that we can, you know, listen to the voice of the people who are out there, who have elected us.
So is there a deadline? I'm sorry. to ask on the question. Is there a deadline on when we will know who that person is?
Yes, that will be appointed before the first meeting in May.
Correct.
Maybe you could go over a little bit your thought process as far as where you selected people to put them, and the ordinance I see on public safety contains 3 trustees.
Well, again, I can defer to Attorney Herbrand on that if you'd like to. I don't want to put you on the spot on that, Mike. But you know, certainly the code here has been discussed with Attorney Herbrand and also with the clerk regarding, you know, who we can have on this. As far as my idea on this, you know, I got a lot of input from people throughout the community during my campaigning, and got from current trustees, past trustees, and from the community. And what I heard from a lot of people is what we want to do is we want to give everybody as trustees the experience to be able to serve on different committees. The appointments are for 1 year. So in a year, you know, we can certainly move folks around if that's what the trustees would like, and in the function of the committee. When I look at the committees that were out there, I looked and saw that, you know, we had some opportunities to put some new people in, to allow people who wanted to serve on those committees to be able to go onto those committees. So again, it's a matter as the president of the village to be able to look at the benefit of the whole of the village, and to be able to find people who would be interested to serve, and who would serve not just in the interest of what they want to do, but what is in the interest of the community.
Yeah, I don't know who you talked to up here. You didn't talk to me.
Well, you know, I offered you a chance to meet with me as I did with Lisa and with Amy, and I didn't hear. So again, you know, certainly people contacted me to be able to say this is how the committees they'd like to be on, and not everybody who said they were going to want to be on a committee were appointed to that committee. So, anything else?
No.
Okay.
One thing, it says 3 appointed, but it doesn't say 3 trustees. It just says 3
For
appointed.
public safety.
Mhm.
Trustee Miller, I'd be happy to revisit that. That's my recollection, but I'd be happy to that's an excellent question. I'd be happy to revisit the code on that.
Okay.
Lisa?
So, couple of things. I'll just start at the top. And we might as well start with public safety. So, I respect, you know, your input on your committees. I know you and I had a couple of conversations about different things. You would ask me about some things I might like. But what concerns me about public safety is there is no carryover of anybody. And on a committee like that, I think it's important that there's one person that knows the history of what's been done in the last few years, what kinds of things have been discussed. So we have 2 of the 3 that are left. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to being on, or Jim Miller. That's fine, but to me, I think it shows that we are thinking about the continuity of the committee. So that's just one comment I have. The other comment is when Amy was talking about the citizen appointee for Public Safety Commission. So, you know, the ordinance is a little bit sloppy and it's old. It starts out by saying the village trustee members shall be appointed by the president and confirmed by the village board annually. Then it talks about the village president, police chief, emergency management shall be also kind of external members of public safety. It talks about a quorum of the Public Safety Committee for meetings in which non-fire departmental related items are listed shall be 2 village trustee members. And a quorum is 2 village trustee members of 3 village trustee members. Now, all the other committees that we have either listed here or on the other committee sheet that you'll get to us in May, they all specifically note citizens. Every single other committee that has citizens on. This is the only committee that doesn't list citizens. There is, I mean, it would be fine. It's not in the ordinance now. The other committees have it in the ordinance. I certainly think that's something that, you know, that we should think about and talk about. I agree that possibly some citizen members, that would be a good idea, but it's not in the ordinance now. I do see, you know, that trustee Miller was taken off of Park and Rec. I know that's a committee he's been on for 25 years and he started as a citizen member. I know that that's here and near his heart. So I don't know if that could be switched. But for all these reasons, I'm voting no on the assignments, specifically because of the public safety issue.
Okay, thank you for your input. Any other discussion?
I think as village president, you have the right to choose who you want for on these boards. But I do hope that we get a chance after a year to review them and it gets noted that we're going to review them a year from now. So that we can talk about what's working and what's not, as far as not knowing what was discussed. I mean, as a new trustee, you're going to be put on boards and you're not going to know what was discussed other than reading the past meeting minutes, which is what we should all be doing regardless.
Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'd like to put this to vote. All those in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed?
Nay.
Hands for ayes. Motion carries. Second item here by the president is the 2023 Arbor Day proclamation. I'd like a motion for that proclamation. If I can, please
I'll make the motion.
take a second on that, please.
I'll second.
All right. So as soon as my computer pops up here, Jesse, I'm going to be able to see that proclamation. There we go.
Here, Dad.
Otherwise, I have it handy if you'd like me to.
Appreciate that. Okay, thank you very much,
I knew
Lisa.
old school would come in.
Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day would be set aside for planting trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is observed through the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our village increase property taxes, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees are the source of joy and spiritual renewal. Whereas the Village of Grafton has been recognized as Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways. Now therefore, I, Daniel R. Delort, President of the Village of Grafton, do hereby proclaim April 28th, 2023 as Arbor Day. In the village of Grafton, I urge all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and to support our village community forest program. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees and gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of the present and future generations. Dated at Grafton, Wisconsin, the 18th day of April, 2023. Thank you. My first proclamation. So we have a motion, a second, a read. We'll take a vote on that. Those in favor of this, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Very good. Okay, next we'll go to resolutions, ordinances, and action items. We have another resolution here. I'd like to have, this will require an offer of a first and a second motion. I'd like to have an offer on this.
I'll offer.
I'll second.
First and a second, very good. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll read this one too. This is very important. This is a resolution to honor Roy C. Harms for his distinguished military service to the United States of America. Whereas Roy C. Harms was born on August 24th, 1916, and graduated from Grafton High School in 1934. And whereas Roy C. Harms at a young age exemplifies the spirit of service and duty by being the first recognized Eagle Scout from Grafton. And whereas First Lieutenant Roy C. Harms lost his life while serving his country on Sunday, August 1st, 1943, in the attack at Palestine oil fields in Romania during World War II. And whereas Lieutenant Harms was posthumously awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, Air Medal, a Purple Heart, as well as other military commendations for his bravery and service as a pilot of a B-24 bomber. And whereas Roy C. Harms shares the name of the Rose Harms Legion Post located within the village of Grafton with World War I soldier Corporal Fred Rose. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the village board of the village of Grafton does hereby acknowledge and commend with sincere appreciation and gratitude First Lieutenant Roy C. Harms for his distinguished military service. Resolved this 18th day of April, 2023. I'd like to thank Trustee Luft for bringing that to us, and certainly we'll be celebrating his return to Grafton and his placement next to mom and dad on the 6th of May. So thank you very much. Next one here, we have, I do need to get a vote on this. So we will take a vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. All right. Next here is Jesse, we will deal with ordinance amending chapter 5.16 liquor.
Absolutely. I can cover this utilizing the IFC prepared by Clerk Katie Olson. That said, the Village of Grafton ordinance governing liquor and the licensing laws has not been amended since 2011. That said, there have been many changes in the state level laws. So therefore, the Village of Grafton ordinance needs to be updated to reflect these changes. That said, Clerk Olson did a very thorough review of the ordinance and has provided the updates before the village board this evening with regards to making sure that terminology and definitions are appropriately updated. The references to state code are updated, and that sections that are no longer applicable or allowable in state law are taken out. One notable item Village Clerk Olson would like to mention is that the current ordinance states that closing hours for a Class A license is between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. State law has changed the closing hours for these Class A, and there's two types of Class A. There's Class A in quotes, then there is Class A where the entire terminology is in quotes. I would have to defer to Deputy Clerk Morgan with regards to clarifying that. It's been, I'm too far removed from my days as clerk to clarify the licenses. However, those two types or particular types of facilities are now between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. Though the municipality may set their own hours for closing as long as they are not less restrictive than state law, common practice among many communities in Wisconsin has been to change their municipal closing hours to match the state. The village board may decide to keep the 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. closing hours for the Class A or Class A establishment if they so choose. That said, the clerk has provided her updates to the village attorney for review. Attorney Herbrand could be able to speak to those as well. And the red line ordinance is attached for your consideration. The clerk has an action requested of approval of the ordinance amending chapter 5.16.
Okay, so this will take first and a second, so I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of this ordinance. I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, and we have any discussion with this evening? Any questions? Okay, seeing there's no questions here, we'll take this to a vote. All those in favor of amending this ordinance? Do a quick read of that. Motion to approve ordinance amending chapter 5.16 liquor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And that motion carries. Next here is a resolution designated public depositories for the village of Grafton and Grafton Water and Wastewater Utility, authorizing withdrawal of village and utility funds for the village of Grafton. Jesse, you want to take this one?
Absolutely. Due to the changeover in the village, primarily the village president's role as the primary signatory for the village in these financial situations, the village has to update its resolution on file. That said, with this change in elected officials, the updated resolution is attached as required by state statutes, identifying the top elected official as one of the signatures. And with that, in the past, Trustee Krieger was a backup signature. This particular resolution before the board identifies Trustee Luft as the secondary authorized signer. With regards to historical context on that, in the, I believe, 18 or so year career of our finance director, Paul Studahar, the secondary signer has never had to actually participate. It was, however, by law, we have to name two.
And I don't find anyone.
Fair enough.
This resolution will take an offer of first and second. I'd like to see if anyone would like to offer this.
I'll offer.
Offer, motion,
I'll second.
motion and second, okay. Good offer, motion and second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, we'll take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next discussion here is the right-of-way license agreement for the distillery. Jesse, would you like to take that one?
Absolutely. The update to the right-of-way license for the distillery is before the village board this evening. This is to allow a slight expansion to their outdoor seating area. This right-of-way license agreement, actually, this format, I should say, dates back to when Atlas Barbecue inhabited the site. It is now the distillery. That said, we are looking at a slight change to their outdoor seating arrangement, whereby what used to be raised planters, where there was about a 6 or an 8 inch curb around some planters, those are actually being brought flush with the ground. The electrical hookups are remaining in place, so full electrical hookups are still available within Paramount Plaza. But by changing those raised planters down to a flush planter, that does very slightly increase their square footage of outdoor seating. Therefore, the right-of-way license agreement needed to be updated. And that is before the village board this evening.
It's also just basically a continuation of what we had with Atlas for that area.
Correct. Correct. Notifying recognizing this small change in square footage to that seating area because of the change to the planters, which the Park and Rec Board had reviewed. Yep.
Director, well, go ahead.
Attorney Herbrand just noted staff a minor typo on page 2 under Article 3, sub A, use. The premise shall be occupied and used only for the purposes set forth in Article 1, sub 1. It should be 1 sub G. Or 1 sub I, it should be 1 sub G. The minor correction that staff will take forward if approved by the village board.
Okay, so that'll be corrected that'll be corrected as part of the amendment.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is will require a motion and a second. Do I have a motion? I move. Second,
I'll second.
okay, any discussion of this at all?
So it's the same, it's a larger area than what it was when Atlas was there, and did Atlas have it fenced in as well? I can't remember.
Atlas did have it fenced in, and it is slightly larger than what, and again, that's primarily because of those small raised planters are going flush with the ground and not being planters anymore. The electrical hookups are remaining in place, but they will not be planters anymore.
And then there's gonna be an area for people just to walk up and pick up.
Yes.
As well.
That's
Different than Atlas didn't have that.
not in that area. So it is,
The village always required the fencing
Right.
primarily to control the alcohol, so that
Right.
no alcohol would be.
Right.
The walk up, I believe was just related to events like Giro and
Not regular business.
4th of July.
Ah.
Parade.
Any other discussion? Okay, this will require a motion in a second. I think we already did a motion in a second. I'm
Yep.
sorry. Did a motion in a second. I apologize. We will take a vote on this. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? And the ayes have it. Okay, next on the agenda is designation of a process to fill the vacant trustee seat.
absolutely. This evening, staff is looking for direction from the village board on the specific process in which the board would like to see the now vacant trustee seat filled. By a resolution that was adopted back in 1997, a very specific set of options and process has been set forth. That said, the options before the village board are appointment to fill the seat. In essence, have folks that are interested to apply. And then in open session, the village board would interview those candidates and then through a series of votes, make an appointment. I believe this has happened 3 times since I've been here in my last 6+ years, coming up on 7 years with the village. So that is one viable option. And the nice part of that option is A, it is the fastest option. B, it is cost effective because staff handles the administrative work. You folks handle your procedural duties of interviewing the applicants, and we can fill the seat in fairly short order. The second option available to the board is scheduling a special election. Placing the vacant seat on a special election board would require the clerk's office to get that scheduled, set up, notify the voters, whatnot. That said, that is a pretty heavy lift as a standalone special election for the clerk's office. It is important to note, though, that it is anticipated that sometime this summer, because of Mr. Knodl's election to a different Senate district, the state will be holding a special election sometime this summer to backfill his now vacant seat. That said, there's been no date established for that special election by the state of Wisconsin. The best indication we have is sometime this summer. So there would be extra work on the clerk's office, and there is a time frame concern there. As you know, we have an even numbered body of decision makers. Ideally, you want an odd number to avoid tie votes, especially at the village board level. Last but not least, leaving the seat vacant. There is 1 year remaining on the term attached to that seat, if you will, and thus that seat would be vacant for 12 months. As I just mentioned, an even-bodied decision-making or an even-numbered decision-making body is not preferable due to the very real potential for tie votes. Therefore, staff would not recommend that either. That said, staff's recommendation based upon past experience, timeliness, and the fact that we have a very well-established and previously used system set forth in resolution in this resolution 033 from 97. I am noting that my recommendation would be for the appointment process. And thus the action requested is to direct the administrator to prepare an appointment process outline in accord with the adopted resolution for presentation and approval by the village board.
Okay, this will require a motion in a second. I'll entertain motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second. Oh, second. Thank you very much. Discussion on this. If, regardless of which option is chosen to fill that seat, do they just pick up the remainder of that 1 year term, or is it a 2 year term like those of us that have just been elected?
Excellent question. They only pick up that 1 year remaining. They will have to run for reelection under the customary cycle for, in essence, that side of the dais. So they will, if they're appointed tomorrow, they serve the 1 year, they have to run for reelection. If special election, they serve the remainder of the term and run for reelection. So they get the 1 year. Yep.
Trustee Luft?
Is there really 3 options? Because the resolution says there are 2 options. So is leaving it vacant even an option?
Technically, it is. It is technically an option. Obviously not preferred, but it is technically an option. Yes.
Anyone else? I feel really strongly that we need to have an odd number full coming forward, I think.
Maybe vacancy is an option if they just can't get anybody and.
Right, or if it was a month before the
Yeah,
election.
yeah.
But I think that it's good for us to try and fill this position as soon as we can. I do know that there are several candidates who are interested in the community who would be interested in interviewing for those positions. And I think it's just good for our village government to have 7 people on this board. So just my 2 cents. Quick comment?
Yeah, quick comment just on the process. I agree with everything Jeff said. I've been in grievance twice and seen 2 different processes for people applying. One involved a back and forth question. People could ask questions they might have prepared as data. And then people could follow up with trustees. And the last time they did that, and questions were sent to the candidates. They came in, they read them. No other questioning was allowed. That struck me as a really odd way to do a vote interview. So I like the prior process before give it that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that comment. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. The recommendation here is to direct the village administrator to prepare an appointment process outlined in accord with the adopted resolution for the presentation to the village board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right.
Please.
When will this process be?
I'm going to be coming right back to you on May 1st with a process outline. That way that can be adopted and we can actually we can post the opening immediately on the website to start gathering, and social media for that matter, start gathering applications. But the process outline itself, I will bring on May 1st for village board approval.
And so there's a possibility that we could have this going by the end of the game.
Yes.
Yep, very good. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the report of the Board of Public Works. It appears that we have seven motions here. I would wonder if the board would agree that we kind of take items 4, 5, and 6 as they generally apply to the MCC process. If we could take those as a single motion, would you all be in agreement on that? Okay, very good. Let's start off with approving the village draft and inspection services for 2023 village and developer projects utilizing core as the consulting firm. Does you want to start off with that, or?
Absolutely. I can touch on it. I know I have staff backup here with regards to any more granular details. That said, by an adopted policy, the village staff actually vets and bids out inspection services for approval by the Board of Public Works and Village Board. Those costs are passed along to the developer, but to ensure, because of past concerns by a developer in the area, that we were just simply willy-nilly hiring whomever we wished, regardless of cost, we wanted to show the fact that no, the village is in fact responsible, and that we do vet inspection firms based upon professional experience, availability, and cost. That said, we put it to policy that we will do that on an annual basis. We will bring forward a recommendation, and that recommendation came through Board of Public Works onto the village board. Again, this would be entering into a contract for the inspection services. The costs are passed through to the developer, though, in which those inspections occur on behalf of.
Amber, do you wish to add anything to that?
No, I would just say, this year Core Incorporated that I'm recommending, brought forth the most experienced staff and also staff that have worked in the village before on similar projects. So it should be a pretty smooth transition.
Okay, let's take a motion in a second. Do I have a motion? Second,
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Okay, we'll move that to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nice have it. Item number 2 here, approve the amendment to ordinance 12-04-040 water and sewer lateral maintenance and replacement of addition of ordinance 12.12.080 abandonment of service by property owner contingent on the identification charge. And Jesse?
Absolutely. At a very high level, again, staff would be able to provide more granular details to this, but this ordinance amendment does look to update our code language to note that the water utility would own the water meter, but no longer, under our current code language, the water utility owns the water meter and the initial shutoff valve inside of a building. Herein lies the problem. Should that shutoff valve malfunction or break, technically you need a licensed plumber to fix that. The water meter, our utility folks can go in and repair or replace, what have you. So that said, as a protection for our water utility, we look to update the code to show that the water utility owns the water meter, but not the shutoff valve. So that's the primary emphasis on the first portion of that code. And then with regards to abandonment of service by a property owner, the other section of code looking to be updated here. Really, it is about, as I recall, it is about making sure that the utility is actually contacted about said abandonment, so therefore we can remove meters and whatnot prior to abandonment.
Amber, Brecken, any addition to that?
Unless there's questions.
Okay, I think we need a motion and a second on that one.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any discussion of this?
Mr. President, I think both of those ordinances have James Buffalo.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure that that's changed. I
Yep.
noticed that there were a couple in there. It's gonna, 20 years is a good long service, and sometimes we've got to get those nameplates changed out. So we'll get that taken care of before that. We're not gonna call Jim in to sign that one.
No.
All right, thank you for bringing that up. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, let's go right to 3, award Badger State Waste LLC of Allenton, Wisconsin with the 2023 to 2027 proposal for hauling, storing, and land applying to the Village of Grafton wastewater treatment plant biosolids.
Yes, such an intriguing topic, but nonetheless, something that we are looking to formalize through a service contract. We have had a longstanding historical, in essence, gentleman's agreement for hauling services with Badger State Waste. The reason for these hauling services is that a wastewater treatment plant of our size and operational scope needs to have a certain amount or length of time worth of this biosolid storage capacity. We don't have that. Therefore, we have to, very similar to some of our neighbors, truck these biosolids away for appropriate disposal. As I mentioned, there have been historical gentleman's agreement with Badger State Waste. That said, it came to our attention, there is no contract in place, not good business practice. Therefore, we sat down, negotiated with them, and a 2023 to 2027 contract proposal is before the village board this evening. What we have come to find is Badger State Waste is the only certified hauler in the area of this stuff. So therefore, it is in essence kind of a niche market for them. So our negotiating power, if you will, was a bit limited. That said, we did have good discussions with them, and this is where we landed with a multi-year service contract.
Amber, Brecken, any more comments on that? Nobody wants to take those talk about biosolids.
To be truthful, they're the only game in town, so we don't really have an option at this point.
This will take a motion in a second. I'll entertain a motion in a second on this.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion in second. Any discussion on this? Well, it's good to have a contract. Let's vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we will take 4, 5, and 6 together. approve, the wastewater treatment facility power and control equipment consolidation project change order number 1 to Piper Power to Berlin, Wisconsin, not to exceed $21,012. Number 5, approve, Wisconsin Energies, We Energies Milwaukee to complete the addition of new electrical service for the amount not to exceed $15,000. Approval of the amendment to the contract agreement between the village and MSA Professional Services Baraboo for additional professional engineering services for construction phases of the WWTF wastewater treatment facility power and control equipment consolidation project for a fee not to exceed $10,000. Josie?
Sure, I'll summarize this backwards, if you will. Item 6 is the engineering services to oversee all of this electrical work and monitor the scope and making sure the project moves forward accordingly. Item 5, the We Energies, that is actually a transition of why am I blanking on the word? Transformers. Thank you. Not sure why, but in the history somewhere, the transformers, the electrical transformers that served the utility were owned by the utility. That presents a lot of difficulties operationally, because if something malfunctions with said transformer, we don't have an electrician of that scope on staff. We automatically have to call a contractor, and depending on time, day, holiday, what have you, that can get very pricey very quickly for us, and we are at the mercy of their availability. Whereas under this recommendation, we're looking to actually transfer ownership of those electrical transformers over to We Energies. It becomes part of We Energies network. Therefore, if something goes wrong with them, they respond, they fix it through their network, and obviously our electrical utility bill covers that. Then with that, the first part, the change order is exactly that, a part of the project to consolidate some very outdated electrical panels. There are some electrical panels that we legitimately had to go online and find salvage parts through different vendors because they are not readily available. So therefore, with the recent improvements at the wastewater treatment facility, these electrical panels are being consolidated for maintenance purposes and also updated equipment. Specifics of the change order, pardon me, either Brecken or Amber, I would have to defer to you for very specifics on that, but it is part of the project just to keep it moving forward.
Okay, before we go to Amber and Brecken, let's get a motion on the table for this. Is a motion in a second.
I'll make the motion.
I'll say.
Motion in a second. Any discussion with us or additional questions you have for Amber and or Brecken? Well, electricity is good. Looks like we'll do a vote here. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. And finally, number 7, enter into a contract agreement with Green Bay Pipe and TV out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, provide sanitary sewer mainline cleaning and televising service in an amount not to exceed $28,800. This is an annual event, is it not?
It is under state requirements. We do need to televise and clean out portions of our sanitary sewer infrastructure. And with that, this is a service contract to fulfill that requirement.
Okay, let's take a motion in a second. I'll entertain a motion. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. We'll take a vote on this. All in favor? Oh, question, I'm sorry.
So do we currently use Green Bay Pipe and TV?
We have used them in the past. They were the lowest of 3 bids.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, we have a motion in a second. Take a vote on this. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. Moving along to report of Public Safety Committee. Approve the ordinance updating the village fire code chapter 7.03. Jesse, get started on that one.
Yes, this is a significant housekeeping effort with regards to this portion of the fire code with regards to updating references to the NFPA, which edition of the NFPA standards we'd be referencing that date back to 2011. They're updated to 2019, 2021, 2023, and so forth, basically updating those references to the NFPA code, removing outdated language that simply doesn't apply, restating items as needed. With regards to the final page of that update speaks to new NFPA codes being 1221 and 1225. Those are added in. So this is by and large a housekeeping effort on behalf of the fire department to make sure our fire code is up to date.
Standing. I do see that, I did go through the Public Safety Committee, and I see that Assistant Fire Chief Matt is here tonight. Do you have any questions for him? Let's start with a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Matt, until you've been on.
Yeah, so we reviewed this at public safety. And did you put a lot of work into this? Was it something that was just bookwork, or, I mean, there were a lot of things you updated in this policy, correct?
Yeah, ultimately it was just like Jesse said, and everything I see is just updating some of the additions out there and then updating some standards that have been created and removing ones that no longer apply.
And is this something that you do on a regular basis?
We try to review it on a regular basis. We did the other one sentence or part of the sentence that changed, and this is in the very top as it relates to the NFPA standards. There, we changed the publication for in 7.03.030 sub A, and that sentence you'll see a change from before to after. So after we institute this, that those, when those additions change, it will automatically change. Those will be the ones that will be applied. And then we will only have to update this when there is a new code that comes out. But for example, we put one in here, there's a code that's in review right now with the NFPA as it relates to the standard on fire protection of cannabis growing and processing facilities, NFPA standard 420. That actually hasn't been instituted yet, but we wanted to include it in the language, so when that addition comes out, it will be included as in there. And then if there's any, then we only have to revisit this code when something has to be completely removed or added.
That makes a lot of sense. So what I understand, you know, in non-firefighter speak is basically what we have is NFPA consistently updates, and we are taking our ordinances and putting them over to NFPA. So when NFPA changes, we don't have to change the ordinance. Is that kind of correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other discussion of this item? Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote on this. All in favor of approving the ordinance update to the village code, chapter 7.03, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Good, that carries. All right, over to you, Jesse, for department officers.
Absolutely. With regards to the administrator's report for this evening, have a handful of items. Last Friday, President Deloret and I met with trustees Fenton and Armstrong for an orientation meeting. We reviewed the pending elected officials handbook, toured Village Hall as well, and simply reviewed kind of the roles and responsibilities of the village board, trustees, and myself as the administrator, the management team, and spoke through how the budget is kind of made up or broken apart into general funds, special revenue funds, debt service, the fiduciary funds of the utility, et cetera, and just some general policy review as well. Overall, I believe it was a great step forward. It's a work in progress, but just a good process to have now and moving forward with regards to orientation for elected officials, either incoming or incumbents. So with that, happy to report the Friends of the Library recently held their book sale, which was quite successful. Last year, the Friends group earned just shy of $1,000, whereas this year they earned over $1,700. So that is an excellent way to support the library through that Friends group, and happy to hear about their success there. On behalf of the utility, just want to note that hydrant flushing will begin next week. This is an annual maintenance practice whereby the water utility to ensure the fire hydrants throughout the community remain in good working order, but also flushes water mains and make sure to maintain water quality throughout the system. Announcements will be notified, will be posted online and social media, notifying when specific areas will be experiencing flushing, because hydrant flushing can cause slight discoloration in the water, and what to do. So that said, we'll make sure to have the full court press, if you will, with regards to public outreach on those hydrant flushing efforts. Just a note from a human resources standpoint, Moving forward, I will be implementing a new PTO scheduling system where I will be notifying the village president of my planned paid time off usage as another form of oversight, just to provide a check and balance within our system. Last but not least, on May 1st, our DPW crew will be switching over to their summer hours being a 4 10-hour day schedule, being 6:30 to 4:30 p.m. with 2 crew members on a rotating basis, so it'll be different too each time, with 2 crew members working a regular 8-hour days throughout the work week to ensure coverage on Fridays. Under our old system with summer hours, we would run into a gap of time late morning through Friday afternoon, whereby crew would be excused because their work hours had been met, and there were times where we ended up having to call back, which this way we are looking to avoid overtime and the inconvenience, frankly, for the employees to get called back when they have their plans and simply want to move on with their day. So that will be going into effect here on May 1st, and that is my report this evening.
Again, I want to thank the staff for allowing me to come to the staff meeting today. I don't think I heard anything in addition, but anything else that the staff wishes to add to the meeting tonight?
I would just like to welcome the community trustee board on board. Board working with you. Chad Waiter and the organization.
That probably, trustee Luft brought up a great point here. Could we possibly just give a 15-second update, each one of the staff members to our new trustees, so they can put a face with a name, because we do know they're going to be reaching out to you to talk with you and to your facilities as they get up to speed on their new committee assignments. So Jessica, why don't you start?
Jessica Wolf, the development director here at the Village Hall. Amber Thomas, director of public works and village engineer.
Mike Herbrand, village attorney.
Brecken Grease, I'm in charge of water and wastewater.
Assistant Chief Eric Sullivan.
Jeff Caballero, police chief. And I'm Assistant Chief Matthew Karpinski.
All right, very good. Okay, let's move on to.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Jim.
Jesse, on the library sale.
Mhm.
There was an increase in funds there. From
Yes, in speaking with Director Klopman this morning, they earned through the Friends Group, through the library, I'm going to try that one more time. Through their book sale activity, the Friends of the Library Group last year earned just shy of $1,000, like $990 some odd dollars. This year, they earned just over $1,700. So it was a pretty significant increase of about $700+.
and how much of that is a result of increased pricing on books?
That I don't know. I'm simply reporting as to the results of that book sale by the
That
Friends Group.
price of books.
Okay,
So consequently, your revenue is going to be higher.
okay. I was simply trying to report a statistic provided to me by the library director that a fundraising effort was successful that will help benefit the library.
I think that, Jim, that's probably a good question for Amanda. I think the granularity, that's kind of tough, but I'm sure she'll, it's probably a good thing to chose her on. But I think we could probably get that information and add that to the minutes. That works for you, Jim. Okay. Lisa.
Amber, thanks for the meeting that's gonna be on tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the commenting, I guess, on the remainder of the 17th Avenue project.
Right, public information for specifically 17th Avenue residents in regard to the construction for this year.
Right, and it's really in regards to the fact that the recommendation is that the street's gonna be narrowed.
Right. I mean, that's not really the purpose of the meeting. It's to go over, impacts of construction, but we will also touch on the design differences and considerations.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. I know that there was some kind of back and forth about that, so thank you. Mike, I just wanted to have you kind of look into something for us. So, going back to the Public Safety Committee. It looks like this ordinance for public safety was drafted on the date that this ordinance exists, which is 1/21/13. And I'm not sure if that's when I believe, maybe the fire department became a village company.
So,
So I'm looking back to the minutes from that meeting.
okay,
And I'd like you to review these at your leisure. It basically says. Administrator Hoffman stated, since the town of Grafton will be a major customer of the fire department, they should have a role in reviewing fire department policy. 3 village trustees would continue to serve on the Public Safety Commission with 2 town representatives as well. The town representatives would only be a vote on the fire department agenda items. If there are no fire department agenda items, only 3 of the 5 commissioners, village trustees, would be necessary to determine if the meeting quorum has been met. It would be the town's determination as to whether they would rather have town supervisors or citizens be appointed to the commission. This was a motion and a second on this date. And
January 21.
yes,
2013.
correct.
Thank you.
And that is the ordinance saying 3 village trustees. So could you look into that and get back to us on that?
And just to follow up, I think we need a really thorough overview of all of the codes. It was very, start looking at the codes. And I think those are things that we can address as we move forward in a relatively quick manner. Because I think once we get our 7th trustee on, that's something we should really look at very carefully. So
Sure,
there's no confusion here.
sure.
And again, I think that, trying to get a feel for what the code actually says. I mean, honestly, up until about a year ago, I had a hard time finding the codes and knowing where they are. But now that we know where the codes are, we can see that there's a considerable inconsistency in how we appoint members to the committee. And we will look at that very closely. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, on to licenses. Approve to issue operators licenses. Jesse?
Sure, the police department does review and make recommendations with regards to operators licenses for folks here within the village. That said, the 2 applicants listed below are recommended for approval by the police department and in particular Chief Caponero.
Okay, we need a motion and a second to approve these operator licenses.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, on to temporary extension of premise for Bridge Inn, approving to issue that liquor license for the date of June 10th, 2023, 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Just a heads up, this is something that they normally will do when they have a larger event. Is that correct, Jesse?
Correct. This is not a unique circumstance here. That said, the Bridge Inn has requested an expansion of premise, a temporary expansion of premise, to allow for service out in the parking field, not just within the building, for the event noted being a charity walk, Guardians of the Children and Masons of Ozaukee County. This event is specifically set for the date of June 10th, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And a temporary expansion of their existing liquor license needs to be approved by the village board. The action requested is listed for approval.
Okay, this will require a motion and a second. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
motion and second. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, has the police department been able to look at this? Is this all right with you? Do you feel secure with what you see here?
Yeah, this is a recurring event.
Okay,
They are gonna have their own private security out there. We have no concerns with it.
okay, great. I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor of the approval to issue temporary expansion premise for Bridge Inn, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we move to the report of the bills. I see there's been some communication between the administrator and trustees. I'll need a motion and a second.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion here?
I have a question. I know you answered my question about the cell phone. Can you just explain it?
Yes, yeah, AT&T overbilled the police department for telephones that they have on account, and we were holding any payment of that bill until AT&T issued the appropriate credits. It took several months, but finally AT&T did in fact issue those credits. So we are now backdating our payments. So this is for either 2 or 3 months. I did not look specifically into the time frame, but this payment for cell phone service is for several months because we were finally issued the appropriate credit. Yep.
So, so if it's for several months, is the $1,600, would that be, $700 a month, or, I mean, is this?
I didn't dive into
Can
what,
you do that? Just get back to
sure,
us?
yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
Cause it's a lot of money
like $510 a month.
Okay.
for,
For the PD phones.
over all of them.
For all of them?
No, I'm curious as to how many phones is for $500?
Well,
Oh.
yeah, we'll do a breakdown and I'll get that out to the village board. Not a problem. Yes.
Let's clarify on that. That's for each of our squads is assigned a cell phone. So we have 7 cell phones for the squads, and then I have my command staff and my supervisors. They have a separate one, right? No, that's for their squad. So just my supervisors, or I'm sorry, my command staff. So we have a total of 8 phone lines that we're paying for AT&T through FirstNet. And it's roughly $500, it's change, 510, somewhere around there per month.
Per month.
Yes, ma'am. They overbilled us because we had a change in service and there was a problem with us getting in contact with our representative. He wasn't being responsive. So we withheld the payment until they addressed the issue with us. They addressed it. We were able to clarify that everything was in order. And so we are paying for the 3 months that we had not paid for.
Sounds good, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, with the motion in a second, look for the approval of those expenditures for the amount of $222,672.36. All in favor? Okay, all right, our next action here, this is for the new trustee. We're gonna go into closed session here, and I'm gonna read this, and then what's gonna take is a motion in a second, and then each individual trustee has to say aye. We'll start with you when I point to you, and we'll go through and we'll go to closed session. So we're gonna convene into closed session here pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851B and E for employee disciplinary matter and real estate competitive bargaining matters, sale of 887 North Green Bay Road. I need a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and second.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned to, or not adjourned, but we're going to close session here. Okay, I look for a motion to bring us out of closed session.
Second.
Second, aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we're out of closed session. Okay, action pertaining to the closed session, action pertaining to the offer to purchase on for 887 North Green Bay Road. Pertaining to those amendments that we have at the price agreed in closed session. I'll need a
Mr. President, we're looking for a motion to approve the counter offer to the Goldfinger Properties offer on the terms that were discussed in closed session.
I'll look for a motion on that.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have. Looking for a motion to adjourn. I move.
Second.
And a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much, all.
We'll need that.